off at number 10, Ghost of Stowe Lake. San Francisco's Golden Gate Park is home to one of the city's most famous ghosts. Stowe Lake is said to be haunted by the spirit of a woman who, after attempting to save her child, who fell in the water, drowned in the lake. Legend says that this woman, referred to as the White Lady, wanders the edges of Stowe Lake as she searches for her child. She can even be summoned by visitors. It's said that the most active area surrounding the lake is near the Pioneer Woman and Children's statue. Ghost seekers can summon the woman by calling out, White Lady, I have your baby," 3 times. If she believes you, the woman will appear before you and will ask for her baby back. The legend bewars both skeptics and believers from doing this, because if you tell her you have her baby, the woman will haunt you for the rest of your life. If you tell the woman you don't have her baby after summoning her, legend says she will drag you into Stowe Lake and you will suffer the same fate she did in the lake. Now at number 9, the Dark Watchers. This legend takes place in the Santa Lucia Mountains, which run from Avila Beach to Monterey. The Dark Watchers are said to be giant phantoms that resemble humans and lurk inside the mountain. Legend goes that the Dark Watchers can only be seen at midnight, as they stand at the mountain's tops. They've only been claimed to be seen staring out into the wide space below the mountains, before completely vanishing into thin air. Coming in at number 8, Monster of Elizabeth Lake. Elizabeth Lake in California is said to have an evil presence below the water's surface. Elizabeth Lake is just outside Lancaster in LA. It's said to have been created by the devil himself to keep his hellish pets. The urban legend says that the passageway to hell can be found if you swim deep into the lake. The first sighting of the monster of Elizabeth Lake dates back to 1880. The monster is said to have the neck of a giraffe, head of a bulldog, bat wings, estimated to be about 50 feet long, and smells of decay. Sightings of the monster of Elizabeth Lake continue to be reported and strike fear in the locals. Here at number 7, the hauntings of Turnbull Canyon. In the Puente Hills Preserve near Witter Turnbull Canyon is a popular hiking site in the preserve. It was previously referred to as Harakanuga, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, which translates to the place of the devil. According to the legend, the region is haunted by the Indians who were executed for not converting to Catholicism. Their spirits are believed to be lingering inside the depths of the canyon, waiting to get out. Many years later, Turnbull became the site of numerous satanic rituals held by people who mysteriously disappeared. What was left behind from the rituals were paranormal sightings and occurrences, reported by both locals and freaked out hikers. Taking number 6, the Billywhack Monster. Rumors of an alleged beast have been going on around since the 1940s at the site of the former Billywhack Dairy in Ventura County. August Rubel, a German national living in the United States during World War II, owned the dairy. It was rumored that August had a secret underground lab beneath the dairy, where he was working with the US government to build a super soldier for war. He returned to Germany in 1943 as he was supposedly working for the Allies. During the trip, August allegedly stepped on a German landmine and passed away. Years later, reports of a strange creature roaming the area where the now abandoned dairy stood started to surface. Many of these reports came from local high school students who told police that a large humanoid with goat-like horns and sharp claws was hurling rocks at their car. Halfway at number 5, Alcatraz Demon. San Francisco's Alcatraz Island has plenty of ghosts and disturbing rumors about its former inmates, one of which is the Alcatraz Demon. The story is that a prisoner was ranting about a demon in his cell. The guards ignored his cries, knowing that many of the prisoners were mentally ill and prone to seeing things. The next morning, the prisoner was found strangled in his cell, with no evidence or means that someone else had been in or out of the cell. There were also a lot of other ghost stories surrounding Alcatraz. Here at number 4, the Hollywood Sign Spirit. This is probably one of the most infamous urban legends in California. The Hollywood sign is said to be haunted by the early 1900s actress Peg Entwistle. When a possible career-ending review was published about one of her films, Peg climbed to the top of the sign's H and jumped off of it. She is said to haunt the sign and the surrounding area. The legend continues to state that she will appear to people hiking to the off-limits part of the sign where she had taken her life. Instead of the sweet Hollywood actress, what appears to these unfortunate people is a woman with a skeletal face and deep hollowed-out eyes. If those hikers are alone, she is said to somehow influence them to share her same fate. Now at number 3, Ghost Hills. Basic laws of gravity state that what goes up must come down. While in California, there are spots that are rumored to defy this basic truth. If you park at the base of a hill in a specified location and release your parking brake, your car will roll uphill. These spots are hard to find but are often accompanied by a legend as its explanation. A school bus broke down and the kids jumped out to push it up the hill, but lost control and the bus ran over them, taking their lives. Now they push cars up hills as ghosts. Here at number 2, Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer is a serial killer who operated in Northern California in late 1960s. The Zodiac Killer took the lives of 5 known victims in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969, operating in rural, urban, and suburban settings. 2 of his attempted victims fortunately did survive. The Zodiac himself, however, claimed to have taken the lives of 37 victims, and he has been linked to several other cold cases, some in Southern California or outside the state. The Zodiac made the name for himself in a series of taunting letters and cards that he mailed to regional newspapers, threatening execution sprees and bombings if they were not printed. Some of the letters included cryptograms or ciphers, in which the Zodiac claimed that he was collecting his victims as slaves for the afterlife. Of the 4 ciphers he produced, 2 remain unsolved, and only 1 was cracked in 2020. The Zodiac stopped written communications around 1974. The unusual nature of this case led to the international interest that is sustained throughout the years. The case also still remains open in the city of Vallejo, as well as in Napa County and Solano County. The California Department of Justice has maintained an open case file on the Zodiac since 1969. Although in late 2021, a team of specialists who investigate cold cases say they identified the Zodiac Killer as Gary Francis Post, who passed away in 2018. The team's years of digging uncovered new forensic evidence and photos from his darkroom. One image features a scar on the forehead of Gary's that matches a scar on the sketch of the Zodiac. It's insane that he stopped communication in 1974 and passed away in 2018, but they only identified him last year. Coming in at number 1, the Charman. The Charman's origin story is quite gruesome. A father and son were both caught in a house fire and horribly burnt in 1948. After the fire, the son became so mentally unstable that he executed his father. When the police found the son, he was so unrecognizably burnt, they didn't realize he was alive. So he ran away before they were able to arrest him for what he did to his father. The story goes that ever since then, the Charman can be spotted wandering the woods surrounding Ojai, occasionally approaching tents of innocent campers or pretending to be a hitchhiker and then attempting to attack them.
Coming in at our number 10 spot, we have the 13 Steps to Hell. Built in 1901, the Maltby Cemetery in Woodinville, Washington is said to be one of the go-to cemeteries if you want to experience some sort of supernatural activity. The most famous legend about the cemetery is the story of the 13 Steps to Hell. And I know how that sounds. The stairs appeared to lead nowhere and descended into the ground as they are located in the center of a cemetery. They allegedly led to an underground family tomb. Even though you were only a few feet away, it was said that when you went down the stairs, you abruptly lost your ability to hear anything above you. It is said that if you turn around and face the bottom of the stairs, you could catch a glimpse of hell itself. Local lore claims that occasionally people would descend down these stairs and just never come back. Even though the steps were removed many years ago, there are still stories concerning them. At number 9 spot, we have the Caddy of Cadborough Bay. Wait, did you think we could escape the Loch Ness Monster? Cause we really can't. There's one in every single state, and for Washington, they have the Cadborosaurus, nicknamed the Caddy. It is said to be a 20-foot long serpent creature that inhabits the northern part of the West Coast. It's described as having the head of a horse and the body of a very large eel. Eyewitnesses reports have been coming in for the past 200 years with 300 different sightings. Even the Inuit people drew this creature on their canoes in hopes they would ward it off once they entered into the water. As with all these Loch Ness Monster hypes, many people claim to have found and captured it, but eventually it gets to the point when you can't even tell what's real and what's fake. At number 8 spot, we're the Black Cat of Stevens Hall. Built in 1895 in Pullman, Washington, the Stevens Hall was once praised as the quote, most famous attractive building on the campus. But once people stepped foot inside, they took back these claims. Kind of like when you meet someone who is physically attractive, but has a terrible personality. This is that place. It started as a hangout spot for students at Washington State University, and here they would dance, drink, and tell stories to one another. One famous story told at the hall was Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat. It was read on Halloween every single year until one year the students believed the story had come to life. Eventually, many would see sightings of a black cat inside of the Stevens Hall. Then on one Halloween, the black cat stood in front of the house's mother's door, and when the students opened the door to see what the black cat was hiding, they found that a girl had passed away, and many believed it was caused by this black cat. At a number 7 spot, we have the Iron Goat Trail. In 1893, a railroad was constructed across the Cascades of Washington. This would be great news because it would finally mean that Seattle would be connected with the Midwest and many other states. Except once trains started to use this railroad, they ran into many problems. To begin with, trains with engines on each end had to struggle up switchbacks to reach the summit. And the worst part about this place was that since it was in the mountains, snow could reach up to 25 feet high in some places, which would have hundreds of people digging out the snow in order for the train to go through. Then in February 1920, the deadliest avalanche in American history hit the railroad. It derailed trails and killing a total of 96 people in the process. And at the time, the rescue mission was nearly impossible due to the extreme weather conditions present on the mountain. Now many hikers come across the area where the accident occurred, and many find themselves leaving immediately the moment they get there. This is because some hikers have reported hearing noticeable screams coming from the tunnels, while others have spotted the apparitions of men screaming for help. All of these components make this place one of Washington State's most haunted places. At number 6 spot, we have Port Townsend, Washington. Considered to be one of America's most haunted cities, Port Townsend definitely has a dark history to back up that claim. The thing about this place is that paranormal activity isn't in a single building or two, but they say that the spirits roam freely around the town, and there's not a place in town where you won't have the chance to see a ghost. For example, the Manresa Castle located in the city was once visited by ghost adventurers, and they supposedly captured children's laughter on film, as well as feeling as though something or someone was pressing against them the whole time. Then we have the Palace Hotel, which used to be known as the Palace of Suites due to the woman who used to live there. But many visitors claim these women never left. They say a woman in blue exposes herself to guests and staff members, while the other spirits try to play pranks on the other people. In the hump of our list, we have the Maury Island incident. Weeks before the infamous Roswell accident, Red Chrisman and Harold Dahl had their own encounter that shocked many people at the time. It all started on June 24, 1947, when pilot Kenneth Arnold claimed to see a string of 9 shiny unidentified flying objects traveling around 1,200 miles per hour near Mount Rainier. Many people have said they have seen the UFOs flying as well. Eventually, the story would be relayed to Red Chrisman and Harold Dahl, who both claimed to have fragments from the supposed UFO. When they interviewed Harold, he would go on to say, quote, "On June 21st, 1947, in the afternoon around 2 o'clock, I was patrolling the east bay of Maury Island. I, as captain, was steering my patrol boat close to the shore of the bay of Maury Island. On board were 2 crewmen, my 50-year-old son, and his dog. As I looked up from the wheel of my boat, I noticed 6 very large donut-shaped aircraft. Eventually, the FBI started to investigate and stated this incident was a hoax. But who knows? This really wouldn't be the last time the US government was hiding UFOs. At number 4, we have the infamous Bigfoot. Yes, the hairy creature had to make its way onto this list simply because this is the state where it was first documented and popularized. To this day, this is the state where the most sightings are recorded, so it's either everyone is lying in Washington or they may actually have a Bigfoot in their woods. Bigfoot has gained worldwide attention, but for those who don't know, they're basically 7 to 8 feet tall hairy humanoids with extreme strength. To this day, the search for Bigfoot is still a mystery, and there hasn't been solid evidence to prove the general public that these beasts actually exist. But hey, if you live in Washington, you have the best chance of actually discovering one, but that outcome would probably be a lot more different than you would think. At number 3 spot, we have Tacoma Old City Hall. Serving as City Hall in the early 20th century, this 10-story clock tower is haunted by a single prankster ghost named Gus. Many don't know the origins of this ghost, but it was said that he may have been a former criminal that was held in the building's Old City Jail and even passed away there. So as I mentioned, this building served as City Hall until 1957. This was a time when the City Hall was being neglected, no maintenance, and no payments. So eventually the building was too unsafe to work in, causing everyone to be kicked out. Nowadays, visitors of the old City Hall claim that prankster ghosts have taken over the entire building. For example, Gus is known to toss objects in the air at random. He's also known to turn on lights on and off, and sometimes he would completely shatter light bulbs. At one point, the sightings were so frequent, the police believed it was a person trespassing the property. But after further investigation, it was discovered that no one was trespassing the property. At a number 2 spot, we have the Kel's Irish Pub. Considered to be a family-friendly bar/restaurant, the Kel's Irish Restaurant and Pub is said to be one of the most haunted eateries in the entire nation. To start, the pub is located in the Butterworth building, which was a former mortuary. So you kinda know where this story is going. This would basically mean that the entire building was used to store deceased bodies. Throughout the years, many spirituals have been brought to the Butterworth building in an attempt to initiate meaningful communication with the alleged spirits who remain there, including both a Catholic priest and a voodoo priestess. Nowadays, visitors report sightings of a ghost of a young girl dressed in a scarlet velvet dress. Others have spotted the ghost of an older man named Charlie, who would appear at random throughout the entire building. At number 1 spot, we have Mount Baker Theater. Opening up in 1927, the Mount Baker Theater in Bellingham was haunted from day one. Unidentified sounds, chilly spots, strange disembodied voices, balls of light, and even the odd apparition are just a few of the stories that have been noted here. As well, many visitors have reported the ghost of a young woman named Judy. It's said that she has crushes on male visitors and will choose to usher them into their seats if she does have a crush on them. People know it's Judy when they begin to hear their name across the floor and feel as though someone is touching them on the back or their shoulders. Another spirit trapped in this place is a cat that is found in the basement of the theater. Many claim that whenever they go to the basement and they catch a glimpse of this cat, something bad is bound to happen, as with many other black cat theories. Oddly enough, Mount Baker Theater keeps a ghost light on stage during the off hours, claiming that they ward off the evil ones from the theater, but who really knows if it works like they say they do. At number 10 spot, we have the Haunted Igloo Hotel. Located in Cantwell, Alaska, is one of the most unique hotels you'll ever see. However, can we call it a hotel if it's never officially been opened up to people? I guess not. Well, sometime in the 1970s, a man named Leon Smith began the construction of this building. His original plan was to make it a never-before-seen hotel, but over the years, it never managed to open due to various code violations. For example, they had undersized windows, which didn't even meet the requirement of the state. And in the end, the building was too big to demolish, so it just stood there for the next 4 decades. Now, apart from this hotel looking pretty eerie, what makes it so scary? Well, because this is an area notorious for grizzly bear attacks, and many have been reported in the area surrounding the hotel. But what makes many stray far, far away is that some have said they saw a woman in white who haunts the ruins. She can be seen looking out of the windows and sometimes by the entrance. At a number 9 spot, with the Baggage Towers. Before you arrive in Whittier, Alaska, you must go through a long, narrow tunnel, and when you get out, the place already has this creepy atmosphere. However, as you drive down this town, one building may stand out to you, and that's the Baggage Towers. At one point, this building held the entire population of the city, all while being used for other public facilities such as stores and even churches. They eventually gave it the nickname, the town under one roof, and it just makes sense. With everyone in the town being under the same roof, it was bound to happen that some restless spirits stayed in the building as well. And at one point, residents of the building reported a strange, dark, shadowy figure walking and even crawling around the hallways late at night. In the rooms, they would hear strange voices coming from dark places telling them just to come closer. And one notorious spirit that most residents know is the man that could be heard whistling across the building. Now locals claim that it's even worse when snowfall hits because it just forces them to stay trapped inside of this supposed haunted building. At number 8 spot, we have Badarka Road. Many say this road exists, while others claim it was completely made up, but what could be true is the terrifying stories attached to this road. Apparently located in Chudjik is a road known to be haunted by a man and his young daughter. This is all because they lost their lives on this road and have never been put to rest. Story goes that a man and his 5-year-old daughter decided to drive down this stretch of road in order to gather firewood for their cabin that was nearby. When they stopped, the father grabbed his axe and proceeded to chop down a tree. When he was on to his next tree, he wanted a small break, so he kept his axe lodged into the tree. However, when he turned his back, his daughter wanted to impress him and she took out the axe, which caused the entire tree to fall on top of her, killing her instantly. The father was so distraught and just sat there with her lifeless body until he passed away from hypothermia. Now, if you happen to find this road and drive down it around 3 AM, you may catch the father holding his bloody daughter asking for a ride. At number 7 spot, we have Chased by a UFO. On November 17th, 1986, Japan Airlines cargo flight 1628 was making a trip from Paris all the way to Narita, which is really close by to Tokyo, Japan. It was a pretty normal flight until they made it over eastern Alaska. This is when the crew began to spot two unidentified flying objects close by to their left side. They described the aircrafts having two rectangular arrays, which is probably their thrusters. And when these aircrafts got too close, the pilots of the Japan flight noted that they could feel the heat on their face. One of the aircrafts appeared to be twice the size of the cargo flight, and they said it kind of looked like a mothership of some sort. The pilots tried to do evasive maneuvers in order to avoid these UFOs, but they still continued their pursuit for little under an hour. Once the two aircrafts left the plane alone, a third one came out of nowhere and began to trail them. The pilots decided to contact air traffic control to identify the aircraft, but nothing could be distinguished. After the end of the 3-month investigation, they concluded that there wasn't enough material for proof, although they'd accepted the descriptions that the crew had left them. So this still remains unsolved, but who knows what the crew actually saw. At our number 6 spot, we have Scary Mary. One of the most famous legends told to many Alaskans is the story of Scary Mary. The story begins in the height of the Klondike Gold Rush, which occurred between 1896 to 1899. One day, a young beautiful woman named Mary came to the Golden North Hotel in Skagway with her fiance. They loved each other, and by the first day in the hotel, they had already made plans to marry one another. So the fiance decided to go off and get a fortune in the gold fields. However, as time went by, the man never ended up returning. Throughout this whole time, Mary was patiently waiting for his arrival back at the hotel. But at one point, she decided to lock herself in the room, knowing her fiance was probably never going to return. After another week, the hotel keepers decided to break down her door, only to find her deceased body while wearing a wedding dress that was meant for her wedding day. Now visitors tell us that she hasn't ever checked out at the hotel. People walking outside claim to see a pale figure wearing a wedding dress looking outside of the windows, while others claim to see her on the ceilings looking down at them when they're sleeping. In the hump of our list, we have the Eldred Rock Lighthouse. Right off of Alaska's coastline is a small island notorious for the disasters that happened around it. This is the Eldred Rock Lighthouse in Haines Area, Alaska. The lighthouse stood strong for over 100 years, but it has been haunted ever since its construction. During the 1896 gold rush, many steamboats were bringing gold miners across the body of water that surrounds the lighthouse, and unfortunately, many of these ships didn't survive the journey. The most famous wreck was during February 1898, when the steamship named the Clara Nevada hit the rock with as many as 75 lives being lost. Ever since that disaster, the island has been haunted by the souls of the Clara Nevada. All the lighthouse keepers report the feeling of being watched when they go out on a nighttime walk, and some have even claimed to see shadowy figures peeking out of the water near the coastlines. At number 4 spot, we have University of Alaska Poltergeist. The University of Alaska's Wendy William Auditorium seems to be a notorious place on campus for having a few of their own poltergeists. One of these being John Wendell Wendy Williamson himself. He was a former music professor who used to teach at the school, and students and staff members nowadays claim his spirit still lives in the room, since a lot of overnight staff will catch music being played in the auditorium only to find out that no one is in the whole hall. Psychics and other paranormal investigators have gone to the auditorium and said there are 5 other entities inside. These include a shadowy man seen in the backstage, an aggressive man who picks on brunettes, a teenage guy who is very welcoming, and a white lady who used to be a former student, and alongside a little girl that can be heard giggling during the lectures. Just imagine, you pay thousands of dollars to go to school only to be haunted by a family of ghosts. At number 3 spot, we have the Qualupalik. The legend of the Qualupalik comes from the Inuit people and their icy Arctic waters. They're actually somewhat considered mermaids, but unlike any other regular mermaid, there is nothing attractive about this creature. These creatures are often depicted as having fins that jut out of their heads, backs and arms, and their webbed feet and hands are topped with long sharp claws. All of this is enough to strike tears into the hearts of the children that the Qualupalik preys upon. Only these children will catch a glimpse of their face, which resembles a woman's face that has turned green and bloated from rotting and being under the sea for a long time. Those who have sighted this creature report that they can only be seen for an instant before they are completely gone, but the children victims of this creature would not be so lucky. Their ways of killing involve leaping out of the water, sinking their sharp claws into your flesh, and dragging you into the water to drown you. At number 2 spot, we have the Alaskan Triangle. We all know about Bermuda's Devil Triangle that consumes ships and planes alike, but Alaska has their very own as well. The triangle connects from Alaska's largest city of Anchorage to Juneau in the southeast and Barrow in the north. Similar to Bermuda's Triangle, over the past 50 years, over 20,000 people and several planes have gone missing in this area. The mystery of the disappearance is inconclusive, but many of the surrounding indigenous tribes claim that restless demons and trickster spirits lure people to an icy death. Some say there's even a shape-shifting demon called the Kushtaka that inhabits the forest of the Alaskan Triangle. He is described to approach those who are lost or weak, and once your trust grows with them, they will drag you deeper and deeper into the wilderness and tear you limb for limb, preventing your soul from ever reincarnating. In other words, there's not much to do here other than being lost and potentially encountering this bloodthirsty creature. All the way at our number 1 spot with the Iliamna Lake Monster. Lake Iliamna is located in a very remote region of southwest Alaska, and when I say remote, I mean it, because in order to get to this lake, you must either go by boat or one of those float planes. It also happens to be the largest lake in Alaska and the second largest in the entire US, so best believe this large body of water has more than a few creatures lurking its depths. Native stories speak about a large aquatic creature that has been the reason for many deaths around the area. Those who have seen the beast have said it ranges from 10 to 30 feet in length with a square-like head. It's so powerful, it's said that it attacks small boats off of blunt force alone, meaning it'll ram its head onto the boat until it completely destroys it. The natives call the creature a Gonagadet, which is depicted as a fish god, or some consider the monster to be a Jig-ik-nak, which are these fish-like monsters that travel in groups to attack canoes and even kill warriors. At a number 10 spot, we have the Night Marchers. According to Hawaiian lore, the Night Marchers were an ancient Hawaiian warriors in their past life, but their spirits march the island carrying torches now. But don't worry about hiding from them, because you'll definitely hear them well before you see them, as they play a distinctly loud drum while they march. They're believed to be stuck on the island for many different reasons. Some of the claims are they are looking to reclaim rightful territory or avenge a battle they had previously lost. These spirits are not entirely evil, but they do demand respect. For example, if you are unfortunate enough to cross paths with them, try your best not to interrupt. And I'll stress you not to look into their eyes, as you will meet your doom from even one glance from these warriors. Since they are ghosts, nothing can stop them from their path, not even buildings. So when you see them, do exactly this. Or another option is to lie down on the floor, but wouldn't you think that walking away is a better option? No? Anyone? At a number 9 spot, we have Morgan's Corner. This one takes place in the island of Oahu and is one of the most grisly murders on this list. Morgan's Corner got its name from a doctor who happened to live at this particular bend of the road. Then in 1948, it claimed that a couple of prisoners escaped the local prison and broke into a house looking for any sort of supplies. They broke into the home of 68-year-old Therese Wilder, who was below the home of Dr. James Morgan. They gagged her and later took her life by means of suffocation. Even though both of these criminals were caught and sent to jail, many say her screams for help can still be heard to this day. At number 8 spot, we have Pele, or the goddess of volcanoes, or she goes by another name called the woman who devours land, but I think that's a little bit too aggressive. It's said in Hawaii that every time a volcano erupts, it resembles Pele's longing to be with her true love. Her story varies, but the most popular rendition talks about a girl born in Tahiti who was sent away from her father because of her difficult temper and seducing her sister's husband. After leaving, she would encounter her sister once again, who took her life out of pure rage. This is when Pele became a full-fledged god before finding her home on a Hawaii island. Now it's said that if you remove the lava rocks on her island home, you will suffer years and years of bad luck and misfortune. And to this day, thousands of lava rocks are sent back to Hawaii due to people experiencing said bad luck. At number 7 spot, we have the Green Lady of Wahiawa. According to Hawaiian lore, a lady and her child would go to this botanical gardens often. Instead of taking their usual route on the bridge to go home, they decided to take the gulch because she feared of her children being struck by a car, since there was a fair amount of cars on the road at the time. When they took the gulch at night, the complex terrain separated the two, and the woman would end up losing her daughter. She looked everywhere in the ravine, but as nothing popped up, she went to the townsfolk for assistance, but no one wanted to help as it was very late at night. As she went back to look down once again, she ended up going missing as well. Now it's believed that she still roams the gulch covered in moss and vines with a distinct decaying smell, which is the reason why she is considered the Green Lady. She supposedly snatches children she finds in the area to fill the void she had from losing her daughter. And she's also spotted at the local elementary school acting as a mother picking up her own child. At a number 6 spot, we have the Koniana Cave. The Koniana Cave is located at the base of a cliff along the Farrington Highway of Oahu. The cave formed over 150,000 years ago. According to Hawaiian legend, Koniana Cave is home to the underground shark god Nanaue, the son of Komahoali. or the king of sharks, the most sacred brother of the fire goddess Pile. Nanaue was born with a mouth on his back and his mother never fed him meat, but when he was 7 he accidentally ate one and slowly would become this shark-like humanoid with razor-sharp teeth and gills. He had an appetite for human flesh after that and would use his cave as a lair until one of the day a group of villagers came down and hunted him down for good. Now it's said that if you see an elderly Hawaiian man cooking meat near a cave, it's actually the spirit of Nanaue. In the hump of our list, we have the faceless ghost of Wale Drive-In Theater. Supposedly at the Wale Drive-In Theater, there's a faceless ghost of a woman who stands near the ladies' bathroom combing her hair. When you get too close to her, she will toss her hair to the side to reveal her perfectly featureless face as smooth as polished stone. The drive-in is supposedly haunted by these ghosts because it was built to an old cemetery in Kahala, which has since been torn down and transformed into commercial and residential buildings. Reports of the faceless woman began on May 19, 1959, when the person who first spotted her was hospitalized after a mental breakdown. This would become big in local news and many would come to the theater in hopes to experience this tragedy. After, many women would be found unconscious on the restroom floor who were said to be approached by the faceless woman. At our number 4 spot were the Menehune. These Hawaiian mythical beings are said to be located deep within the forest of the island. These 3-foot tall beings are said to be experts at building, where legends say that they would build temples, fish ponds, roads, and even homes for the Hawaiians. According to lore, if you interrupt them when they are working, they will vanish out of thin air, but in some rare cases they come back to you with only negative intentions. A story goes that a group of teens went on a beach to have a bonfire. When they arrived, they noticed an odd looking shrine, but as they focused more on it, they noticed these little faces and shadows of little people in the forest behind it. Scared by this, the teens decided to find offerings to give to the shrine. One teen came out of the forest with an apple, running, after a group of Menehune started to circle him. All the teens managed to escape, but this incident remains a reminder not to mess with these beings. All the way at our number 3 spot, we have the Ilonani Palace. From scary sounds to unexplained apparitions, Inulaui Palace reigns high with paranormal activity. Built in 1882, the meticulously restored palace was once home to Hawaii's last ruling royalty, King Kalakaua, and his sister Queen Lilikuali. She was imprisoned in the palace within her bedroom for 8 months following the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy. Although the queen physically passed away in 1917, it's believed that her spirit, along with a few others, are still roaming the halls of the royal home. Visitors on tours and security guards on duty have reported hearing footsteps, smelling the scent of burning cigars, and seeing the silhouette of a woman standing in the window of what was once the queen's bedroom. At number 2 spot, we have the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport. This international airport, located in Honolulu, is considered one of the most haunted airports in all of America, and for good reason. The airport is said to be haunted by the Lady in Waiting, who is a blonde girl who wears a white dress and appears in areas where people aren't allowed. The story goes that a woman fell for a man who pledged to marry her, but at a random turn of events, he took back his promise and vanished out of thin air. After she suspected the man left on a flight, she went to that airport and took her own life in one of the bathrooms. Now it's said that her spirit still remains in the airport, but is more prevalent in the bathrooms, with reports of her slamming the toilet seats and tugging on people's clothes. At the airport is said another ghost who is known for choking guests. It's said that this ghost sits on the chest of others and gives them the sensation of choking. Guess I'm taking a boat on my next Hawaii trip. At our number 1 spot, we have the ghost of Pearl Harbor. The Pearl Harbor incident was known as the reason for America's entry into World War II. This happened on December 7, 1941, when the Japanese led an attack to destroy as many military and civilian vessels in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This attack caused the casualties of around 2,400 US personnel, including 68 civilians, and damaged or destroyed 19 US Navy ships, including 8 battleships. It's said that the spirits of those who passed still remain on Pearl Harbor to this day. One of the ghosts that can be spotted on the grounds is the ghost of a man named Charlie. When heavy doors begin to swing back and forth, or lights being flickered on and off, everyone who works there just says, quote, "That's just Charlie," as if it was some casual thing or something. Don't know about you, but I would expect everyone who passed away from this attack to become malevolent ghosts in the future, but I guess this one just got tired of it all. As people approach the shrine built to commemorate the event, many claim to feel the instant feeling of sadness and a pain feeling. With the number 10 spot, we're the Goldfield Hotel. With a population of less than 300 people, this ghost town is bound to have something haunted within it. And guess what? It does. So this town got its name because it was discovered in 1902 because of a gold rush. As with many gold rush towns, when the gold went away, so did the people. Then Then in 1923, a fire engulfed the entire town, leaving the hotel standing alone. This hotel is now a symbol of what used to be, and many visitors claim that it's haunted by the former townsfolk. One of the most notorious spirits found in the hallways of the hotel is a woman named Elizabeth. Legend has it Elizabeth became pregnant with George Wingfield, which was one of the hotel's first owners' child. When he found out, he chained Elizabeth to a radiator in room 109 of the hotel. He supplied her with food and water until she gave birth. Some say Elizabeth passed away shortly after giving birth, and ever since you can hear a baby and her woman crying from room 109. At number 9 spot, with the Clown Motel. If you have a fear for clowns, this motel is probably the last place you want to sleep at. This hotel has an obvious theme for clowns, and this was because the father of the owner was a clown collector and ended up being buried at the cemetery, which is located right beside this motel. Motel and cemetery, probably not the most appealing combination. Not only does each and every single room have all types of different clown decorations, but past owners and workers have claimed that it was haunted since the time it was built. They would recall hearing footsteps and voices coming from unoccupied rooms. Even on their website, they have different rooms and the spiritual encounters in each and every single one of them. Because of this, they have a disclaimer which reads, quote, "By visiting the Clown Motel, you acknowledge that you may encounter interaction with spiritual and or unexplained phenomena and or other unexplainable, unusual, or paranormal activity or interactions, which may include risk which may or may not be foreseeable. The Clown Motel will not be held liable for any bodily damage, injury, or personal property, emotional distress, death, or other harm caused by aforementioned." Many others have visited this hotel, and many other YouTubers have documented their trip, but you must be a clown to step into this one. Haha, no, anyone? No? Okay. At number 8 spot, we have the Lovelock Cave. Located in the middle of Churchill County, the Lovelock Cave is one of those discoveries that makes you question our history a little bit. In 1911, 2 miners were sent to this cave to search for bat guano, which is just bat poop for those who don't know. They would collect loads of this stuff, but eventually as they got deeper into the cave, they began to discover things like baskets, shoes, and even skeletons of humans. The craziest part about this is that it claimed that the skeletons of the humans were giants. I don't mean like 7 feet beings like Shaq, I mean like 10 to 15 tall beings. Local legend claimed that the local Paiute tribe was once at war with cannibalistic giants. The tribe was able to fight them back and trap the giants in this cave. They then filled the cave with deadly smoke to suffocate the rest of the giants in there. Even though bones have not been formally documented, it could be hidden from the public. Who knows? At number 7 spot, we have Tahoe Tessie. On the border of California and Nevada lies the beautiful Lake Tahoe. Legends from the Paiute tribe talk about a serpentine beast who lives in an underwater tunnel beneath that very caves. Then in 1959, a police officer named Mickey Daniels reported that something large rocked his boat while he was fishing with a friend at Lake Tahoe. And it was a cause of concern because his boat was 43 feet long. So something huge must have shaken it up. Except there's no sort of whales in Tahoe, so many claimed it was actually the beast Tessie. They believe Tessie to be around 80 feet long and to be as thick as a telephone pole. Many claim it has relations to the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland, and if you see these two side by side, they honestly look like brothers. Regardless, just be wary of what lies underneath the depths next time you swim at Lake Tahoe. Sometimes the beauty in the area may be deceiving. At number 6 spot, we have Virginia City. So this whole city inside Nevada is considered to be haunted. Yup, a whole city. This place started off as a mining town and was one of Nevada's fastest growing cities, but in 1875 a fire engulfed everything within 9 hours, leaving more than 2,000 structures destroyed, hundreds homeless, and over 300 passed away. Now it's said that the spirits roam the entire town, haunting every single building within it. For example, the old Gold Hill Hotel is said to have the ghosts of children running the halls and scents of rose when spirits are nearby. The Silver Queen Hotel is allegedly haunted by one of the former workers. It's said that her spirit grabs people's hair and attempts to trip them down the stairs. Then in the St. Mary Arts Center, which was built in 1875, the same year of the fire, it's said that they offer paranormal investigations, including seances inside of the building. Right in the hump of our list, we have Bally's Casino and the MGM fire. Let's take a gamble and talk about the infamous fire that claimed the lives of many in the Las Vegas Strip. On November 21, 1980, in the world-renowned MGM Grand, a devastating fire engulfed the place, with it being the second largest loss of life hotel fire in the history of the US, with over 87 people passing away and 700 injured. During the fire, no alarms rang, and to make matters worse, sprinklers weren't even installed in all parts of the building. 8 months after, and the MGM Grand Hotel was rebuilt and reopened to the public. But ever since, visitors claim all sorts of paranormal activity. This includes ghostly apparitions on the same casino floor as the site of the fire, with some reporting that the ghosts are actually still gambling to this day, which is attributed to their last mortal moments before their passing. At number 4 spot, we have Area 51. Couldn't mention Nevada without Area 51. wrong. If you haven't been living under a rock, then you must know that this place is a potential alien hotspot. Many people believe this is a place where the government does secret tests with alien technology, and some claim that they keep aliens captive here. The most popular case was from Bob Lazar, who have claimed to work in Area 51 and said that he saw a UFO firsthand, describing it in very specific details. This led many to believe in his theory, and for probably forever, Area 51 will always be associated with alien activity until the US government tells me otherwise. At number 3 spot, we're the Flamingo Hotel. Until this violent murder 6 months after its opening in 1947, the Flamingo Hotel was the pride and joy of notorious mobster Bugsy Siegel. Siegel took over the final phases of construction and convinced more of his underworld associates such as Meyer Lansky to invest in the project. Siegel reportedly lost patience with the project's rising costs, and he once mentioned to the builder Del Webb that he personally killed 16 men on the job. However, some claim that he decided to stay indefinitely. Bugsy has allegedly been seen at the Garden Memorial, inside the wedding chapel, and roaming around the presidential suite, which still has the gold bathroom fixtures from his original room. Guests in his suite have reported hearing whispering and seeing dark shadows looming at the foot of their beds. At number 2 spot, we're the Mob Museum. At a time, Las Vegas was controlled by the mob, and some believe they still do. So it's no surprise a museum of mob activity was built to recognize some of the horrific acts they committed. All of their exploits are documented at this mob museum, renovated from the same downtown courthouse where many of these characters were prosecuted. As you can imagine, they weren't too happy about their jail sentences, and some say their spirits still roam the halls after hours. The supernatural energy is especially strong near an exhibit dedicated to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, featuring a brick wall from a parking garage where 7 Chicago gangsters were shot dead in 1929. All the way at a number 1 spot, we have La Plaza Mansion. Although this property is pretty well put together, once you know about its past, you'll definitely look at it differently. It got such a bad rep, it eventually was considered to be Satan's mansion. Built in 1959, this now abandoned building was home to a threatening gangster. Here in this house, he would organize many of his hits. He would also execute others in that home, and he kept many people captive inside of the basement and the attic. So as the years went by, the house claimed more and more lives, eventually to a point when it reeked of the paranormal. Everyone who moved into the La Plaza Mansion reports a presence of negative energy that hangs over everything. And that's just where the haunting begins. If you visit, be prepared to hear whispers saying get out of here or kill her. And sometimes you might have some piece of furniture or decoration thrown at you aggressively.